Hi, everybody, and welcome to round 2 of the eSports Racing League's second season, presented by RaceVoice and Racer61. It's been just a bit more than a month since we wrapped up season 1 at tonight's venue, and a tumultuous season opener that we had last week at Cozy Summit Point. We now head to the West Coast, the Monterey Bay, and the home of the corkscrew, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth is Avery McDonald. And as always, Apex Racing TV's Dennis Branch is manning the controls. And tonight, we've got two great races on tap. First up, and you can see them right here on the screen, our drivers will jump behind the wheel of the Mazda MX-5 Cup cars, and a little bit later, our Spec Racer Ford drivers will take to this sandy 2.2-mile, 11-turn circuit after taking last week off. Perhaps we can just chalk up last week to our drivers knocking off the rust. We witnessed sons spinning fathers. That was so hard to say, and actually I think probably much harder for that family to deal with. We had friends spinning, former friends, and only a fortunate few drivers in both our Pro Formula Mazda and Spec Racer Ford races actually brought their cars home without some very noticeable damage.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, it was definitely tough, man.
Yeah, it was a crash fest last week. But, you know, if we look back, Avery, and it's only been now about a month since WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, with the eSports Racing League. And if we look back to that race week, it was tough, and we had some great battles in what was the final event of the season, the final in-season event. And we had some great battles to win. Do you expect maybe what we saw a week ago? You know, what we saw a month ago, maybe some kind of combination? Looking at maybe is the keys to tonight's races.
You know, this track, you know, with a lot of history, has the potential to, yes, have some carnage because it's very easy to go off. In their racecraft, I think we're on tap for a really good one. My key to this race, though, Greg, is staying on track, because once you get into that kitty litter, it's going to be junk today. So my service comes tomorrow. But anyway, so yeah, just keep it on the track and just keep it nice and clean, and only make a move when you can. Because when we saw these cars, we saw some pretty aggressive moves, Greg, and some, just say some spots that probably should have happened. So maybe we'll learn from the last time we were here, and we'll see. But this is good.
It certainly is. And, you know, so WeatherTech Raceway, very similar in length to what we saw at Summit Point last week. As far as the layout goes, definitely some more elevation change here at WeatherTech Raceway. You've got 180 feet from down in the Andretti hairpin, where we see some of our drivers going through right now what are actually turns here at WeatherTech Raceway, all the way up to the highest point of the track, up to the entrance of that iconic corkscrew. One of the challenges, and you mentioned the drivers getting off into the kitty litter, they don't have to actually get off, as we're watching right now. Looks as though, I think that I can't see which car that is, but right back behind, you don't necessarily have to get off into the dust and dirt in order to have problems here at Laguna Seca, because these drivers, as they go off course, they'll pull, and nice slide there from Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine. You know, as these drivers come and maybe drop wheels off the track surface, they'll bring a lot of that dust and dirt back onto the surface. And this, Avery, it eats up tires a bit. But a lot of sliding around, as we just saw young Mr. Burkhardt do out on track here in qualifying. By the way, 15-minute qualifying at the moment.
Yeah, definitely a really good track to learn how to drive. I mean, like you said, a lower grip level, you got to really drive the car, slide the tires just a little bit to maintain your pace. But yeah, this is a track where when I first started sim racing, I'm like, I have to figure this track out, because once I figure this one out, maybe some other tracks might be a little bit easier. So it's a great track to learn on. And
definitely. And we were just watching there the two All Sports Racing teammates and the 15-year-old contingent here in the eSports Super Tour, or the eSports League, of Jameson Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt. Both working together. Those two drivers have been came up racing go-karts at a very young age, and you saw them there as they were trying to work the draft to move up a little bit higher here in qualifying, as we're now following the number 08 machine of Jack Tranter. Tranter currently your provisional pole sitter as he slots in right behind Jamison Burkhardt. They're heading down into turn 2, heading down into the Andretti hairpin. You can see along the left-hand side there where our drivers stand. This 15-minute qualifying session will set the grid for the 20-minute timed sprint race that these drivers will run. This race will be brought to you by Driver61, and we'll talk a little bit more about Driver61 here in a few moments. And then after these gentlemen race, we're going to actually see a lot of our truck behind the wheels of Spec Racer Fords as well and run double duty. We'll then do it all over again with qualifying and a 20-minute sprint race in the Spec Racer Fords. So it should be a great evening on tap here from Laguna Seca.
Nice little, Jordy Fike almost had that save, but it's good to see him out here, that Team Esport racer. A lot of Team Esport drivers out here they're tough for because they are quick. And
there's another one, his teammate, Zach Burke, making his way out of turn 6 up the Rahal straight. And, you know, it was kind of interesting to watch. It went around, his Fike went around coming out of turn 11, the final turn here at Laguna Seca. That how wide the front straight is in comparison to, say, Summit Point Raceway, where, again, more elevation change here. So generally same number of turns and about the same length track, but a much wider surface. And that may also promote perhaps a little bit better racing than what we saw at Summit Point last week, where it seemed to be that track can support 3 cars wide pretty much everywhere around its 2.1 miles. But it seemed to drive much smaller than that last week, and pretty much from the drop of the green flag in our first race to the checkered flag flew in our second race, it was just I think mayhem. Is probably the best way to explain it. So hopefully we'll have some longer runs here tonight of just some great racing, and not have to spend the entire night talking about drivers, you know, driving off into the woods.
Well, there's no woods here today, so
that's right. Nothing but sand and dirt. As looks like Murphy Nichols found a little bit of it there outside of turn 3, but he's been doing quite well. As we were watching him in practice a little bit earlier, in these drivers, they had an hour and 15 minutes of practice prior to the qualifying session starting. And young Murphy Nichols, also quite young, I believe he's the oldest in that all sports racing team at, I think, at the ripe young age of 16. He was putting on a pretty good show, and he was up to, I believe, 5th fastest in practice, which is, oddly enough, right where he is right now.
Yeah, Murphy putting on a really good qualification run. But how about Henry here in that 14 car up into 3rd place? And, you know, qualifying is so important in these sprint races, because if you're not up towards the front, you're going to have to make some aggressive moves. But what a run by Zach Burke. He just completed his lap and to move up to 2nd place.
Yeah, and so Henry Morse, new with us this year, this season on the Ray Esports Racing League. He was not with us for season 1, and already up to 4th here in qualifying against some very tough competition like Zach Burke and Mitchell Peak, the 2 Canadians, and also Jack Tranter. So we'll have to see how he does under race conditions, but so far a strong qualifying for Mr. Morse. As we're on board now with Elias Roman, who, of course, I've seen, and he's raced with us here in the Ray Esports League, but I've seen him in a number of other leagues, such as the Washington, D.C. region of the SCCA. They've had a league for the past number of years, and he's done quite well there in the MX-5s. We'll have to see how he does tonight. We have just about a half-minute remaining in this qualifying session, so these drivers trying to get in these last flying laps. For example, as we're watching Charles Vaccaro make his way around the Andretti hairpin going down into turn 3. This will likely be his very last lap here on course, and I believe the majority of the other drivers that are still on track probably will not get around to the start-finish line in time to start another lap, as we just saw one of those eSports racer machines maybe missing a little bit of body work there in the front.
Yeah, luckily it's on iRacing where you can get that brand new car for the race. So you blow your motor, you junk your car, you go to the race with a fresh car. So
Yeah.
luckily for them.
Yeah, and I think that was Zach Burke who'd gone around coming out of turn 4. And it looks like Burkhardt's going to call off that last flying lap. Let's take a look. Mitchell Peak crosses the stripe and now gets around Zach Burke. And so Mitchell Peak now, as time has expired on his very last flying lap, he will, looks like he will start on the outside of the front row. A little bit of a drag race here. Coming down to cross the stripe with Elias Roman now moving up to 6th. And let's see, Suraj Pradhan, who I believe at the last race in season 1, Suraj Pradhan came in 8th in the Mazda MX-5 race. So we'll see. He's currently sitting down in 20th. I'm sure he's looking to maybe move up just a little bit on this last flying lap, maybe get a little better chance at the front of the field here as our race starts. Let's see as he crosses the start-finish line. Does he move up from 20th? No, he's going to stay right there. And so Suraj Pradhan comes in with that last lap time of a 1:40.18. His previous best had been a 1:39.83. Big difference there. He needed only 5 thousandths of a second to leapfrog Brian Hartz. Of course, they're going to be in the same row for the start of this race. Going to be in row 10, but that's how close the qualifying is. All right, so as we now have our drivers, believe they are now making their way back to the pits. I think Suraj Pradhan probably the last driver still listed as being on course. Once he goes back, we should have our drivers starting to grid up for this 20-minute sprint race. And as we normally do here in the Ray Esports League, these drivers will have a rolling start, not a standing start. And so, Avery, why don't we run down the starting order?
Let's do that. Starting on the pole with just about 0.4 of a second quicker than Mitchell Peak. That's Jack Tranter in first. Like I said, Mitchell Peak second, Zach Burke third, Henry Morse fourth, the young man Morgan Burkhart fifth, Elias Roman and sixth, Murphy Nichols seventh, Richard Spicer eighth, Greg Mack, that Team Esport driver. Watch out for him. He's got some speed. And then Jordy Fike and the man, the myth, the legends, Jeff Jacobs in 11th, and the Ray Esports Racing. Let's just say this. Wasn't for him and a couple other guys, this series wouldn't happen, and he does a great job. That's Stevie Ray. Oh, right, yeah.
The Steve in Ray Esports. The Ray in Ray Esports. Oh my. All right, let's jump over now to we'll look at row 7, where Jamison Huffman in the number 89 All Sports Racing team will start 13th. Kyle Vallejos in the number 35 car will start right next to him. Then we've got Charles Vaccaro and Bob Kucera. Then we've got Andrew Wozencroft, Wozy, in the number 80 car with Greg Brockway starting right beside him. Then in that 10th row, we've got Brian Hartz in the number 42 car with Suraj Pradhan. And again, you can see the difference there, only a couple thousandths of a second separating them. Bryce Evans will start on the inside of row number 11 with John Fustel starting next to him in 22nd. Then we've got John Casey and Mike James. And not done yet. We then go to Wayne Buttermore, who's going to be starting 25th in the number 73 machine, and then Sean Hayes will start right beside him. Now, the one driver that we did not see come out and set a qualifying time, and I don't think took to the track, Whitney Strickland, who I would hope, I have a feeling most likely what happened is Strickland probably jumped into the wrong race. He typically, in real life races, spec racer Fords, if I were a betting man, I think we'll see him in our next race. But we've got the pace car now with a pretty darn good pace here, Avery. Looks like our driver is having a little bit of a challenge keeping up with our pace car here as they come out of turn 4. Still a long way to go here on the pace lap, but we'll see if that pace car slows things down a little bit. Looks like the back of the field's going almost race pace to try and keep up.
Yeah, that pace car found the throttle. It found it quick, but now we're going up the hill and starting to slow up a little bit. But yeah, the field's pretty much there. This is going to be this could be one of the races of the ages. I mean, those drivers need to tighten those virtual belts tight one more time and get ready to go green for 20 minutes here at WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. And Greg, we saw a great one last season. Let's hopefully see another good one this time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've got Jack Tranter and Mitchell Peak on the front row. Again, that second row, Zach Burke and Morgan Burkhardt. And then we'll have to see here. Actually, it's supposed to be Henry Morse starting in 4th. There you go. And Burkhardt goes and rolls back just a little bit. That probably that third row had actually gone up and had gotten around some of our second row drivers. All right, so the pace car now down on the pit lane. Our leaders come around turn 11 onto the front straight as we wait for the green flag, and there it is. It's in the air as all of our cars, they spread out, and you can see 3 wide right back behind our leader, Jack Tranter. Oh, and we have Stevie Ray go off. We have Hertz go off, I believe. We have a number of cars. Oh, and one of the All Sports Racer machines goes off on the outside of turn 1. It looks like we've got the 02 machine that has gone off as well. And a lot of damage to that 02 car. And was that the 02 or was that the 023 of Elias? I believe that was Elias Roman in the 023 car that had the issues. But let's just jump back up to the front here with Jack Tranter and Zach Burke. Then about 2 car lengths back to Mitchell Peak with Henry Morse, who started in 4th, right back behind. And then you've got a pretty good gap back to Greg Mack, Murphy Nichols, as well as Jordy Fike and Jamison Hoffman. Let's take a replay here on the start as all these cars start to fan out. And there we go, already off in the dirt, out off the track, the number 35 car. As he tries to get back on, and we could see there as we had car come across, get the Stevie Ray. I think Stevie Ray did continue. He is now back up to 20th using that reverse gear. The driver that got into him, I believe, was John Casey. Let's take a look here, and Morgan Burkhardt did take his car back to the pits. Actually, I think getting into Stevie Ray.
Oh, that looked like it hurt.
Yeah, oh, it certainly did. Wow. You know, even the door mirrors were doing the little flappy thing there. It was pretty dramatic there. Actually, I think it was Jeff Jacobs that got into Stevie Ray in the yellow number 38. I saw that car off to the side. But lots of damage there. Sitting in the pits right now, Morgan Burkhardt, Elias Roman, Jeff Jacobs, and also Kyle Vallejos in the number 35. But our leader right now is Jack Tranter in the 08 machine, that blue and white SCCA machine. About 2 car lengths back from there, we've got Zach Burke, Mitchell Peak, the 2 eSports Racer teammates, and then we've got Henry Morse. And they have really broken away from the rest of the field, primarily, I think, due to that incident that we had on lap 1. Oh, that's going to be problems. Having to take evasive action. Let's go back and watch the replay here of the 062 machine as it goes around. That is Greg Brockway, and just got loose, got into the sand and dirt, and then as he tries to rejoin, you know, never a good time. He pulls right in front of traffic coming out of turn number 3 that has to take evasive action. All right, back to the live action now. There's Mr. Brockway back underway. And we're now with Brian Hartz, who has made up 4 positions, but I'll tell you, right ahead of him, coming down the corkscrew right now, Sean Hayes in the number 94 machine. He has made up 12 positions. So obviously, huge beneficiary of that melee on lap number 1. as he tries to make his way. He's heading up now towards Bryce Evans, wants to pick up another position. Evans made up 8 positions, and a lot of those drivers in that group may be a little surprised to see where they are. Siraj Pradhan made up 10 positions in just now 2 laps, as we have some of our drivers from those initial incidents starting to rejoin. Heading out on track right now, I believe Elias Roman, in the 062 machine. That's him in that red car that just came on track.
Yeah, that front pack's made a really good gap, but this is Greg Mack, another one of those eSport racer drivers, trying to run down Jamison Huffman. And Greg always puts on a real good show. He's always carries a lot of speed. Oh, a little side-by-side battle with Kucera, and that is the 45 Kucera and Siraj Pradhan in 11th. Greg, they're spread out a little bit, but there's all these little tight battles.
Yeah, definitely. And one of them that we're watching right now with that the 071 of Mike James and Buttermore right with them, and Richard Spicer in the 65. Now those are the 2 drivers that we saw come out of turn 3 the last time behind Brockway. And I'll tell you that that student driver car already looking a little dirty on the side there. But oddly enough, the student driver, one of the cleanest cars on track at the moment. Here is he starts to make his way down the corkscrew. That's Mike James. All right, back up to the lead with Jack Tranter and Zach Burke trying to separate themselves out just a little bit from Mitchell Peak and Henry Morse. And as we start lap number 4 here, about a quarter of the way already through this 20-minute sprint race, our 2 leaders have separated themselves out just a little bit, but certainly, Avery, not enough to really start battling here. They don't have much of a margin or a buffer back to Peak and Morse at all right now. Yeah,
Burke and Peak, the last lap they both ran at 1:37.16. So, I mean, pretty much identical times. And guess what, Greg? That's the fastest lap of the session. And if they can maintain that pace, they could make a good move for put the Canadians 1-2. Back to Andrew Rosencroft.
Yeah, and we see Rosencroft and Kucera together quite often here in the Ray Esports League, and they're battling it out again. Kucera made up 8 positions on the start. Rosencroft made up 8 positions on the start. So they started off in the exact same place on the grid, basically, and came forward with all that mayhem heading ahead of them, but qualified with almost identical lap times. As I was looking back, I believe the difference in qualifying was about 0.2. So, I would expect to see that battle raging on probably for the majority of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. These drivers, they know each other. They're always around each other, and that's what makes, not just this league, but leagues in general in iRacing. You race against a lot of the same people. You get to know how they race. So don't be surprised to see their names on timing and scoring right next to each other for every race this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the neat things as I have witnessed and announced more and more virtual races. When you do the real life thing. If you're in a league or in a series, week after week or month after month, you really find out what the tendencies are of your fellow competitors. And I think for a lot of the virtual racing series, perhaps you don't have that opportunity because you have drivers jumping in, jumping out. You don't know when they're going to be racing or not racing. But for here on the Ray Esports League, where these drivers have been racing together for 6 months or 7 months, and they may encounter each other in other leagues or series as well, you really get to know what the tendencies are of the different drivers. The challenge is, do they race the same way when they're in an MX-5 versus when they're in a Spec Racer Ford? Is their approach the same or is it different? But really neat to see that dynamic, and I think it makes big damage there for Greg Mack as he goes off coming out of turn 6. Not an uncommon place. Let's see if we can get the replay on it here. Does he just drop a wheel, or does he miss that? There's the little, like the divot, a little drop right at the apex of turn 6. He got in there all right, but he dropped the wheel on exit. lifted off the throttle and right into the fence, Avery.
Yeah, you know what? To a point, well, my keys to the race, you got to keep the car on the track. Definitely here, you can go off the track, but here's Vaccaro. And yeah, I believe that is Jamison Huffman.
Yeah, and let's see as Huffman takes a much tighter line, hugging the curbing through the Andretti hairpin, that double apex left-hander. He gets around Vaccaro, so move Huffman now up to 9th. Now, a couple of the teammates of Jamison Huffman, they expected him to really be up in, say, the top 4, top 5 here. That apparently WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, one of the better tracks that he has raced at virtually, but it's just not playing out that way. And you can see where he was dragging the mirrors around, that car has definitely had some damage. Let's jump on board now with his teammate Murphy Nichols, right back behind Jordy Fike, who had that spin a little bit earlier as they come over the crest of the hill at the corkscrew and start to roll down Rainy Curve. Really tough portion of the track here. Takes a soft foot on the throttle and a lot of patience before you get back onto the throttle coming out of the corkscrew.
Yeah, after the corkscrew, Greg, is my favorite part of the track. It's so free-flowing, and you just got to modulate that throttle as you're going through there. And these drivers are really doing this very well. And Fike's got this final spot in the top 5, but I think Murphy Nichols might try to make a move here, even though he is blinking.
Yeah, and so we saw this last week at Summit Point. Maybe not the best internet service in old Frederick, Maryland for Murphy Nichols. As you said, he's blinking in and out. We checked some stats, and it seemed like he had a pretty good connection earlier during practice and qualifying, but still having those issues. As we sit on board Jordy Fike's Mazda MX-5, looking back at Murphy Nichols, and you can see Andrew Wozencroft sitting in 7th, not all that far back. Wozencroft making some real big gains here, has made up 10 positions so far this race, and he's hanging in there with some of these drivers in the top 5.
Oh yeah, put on a really good run in that top 5. A nice little train. It's a 5-car train, and in a couple moments it could be a 7-car train. Huffman off into the gravel. You got to be careful. We saw Greg Mack do that earlier, and he ended up around and spun out. Man, just got to be so cautious with that, Greg.
All right, you can see this battle now, the 4-car battle for 7th, rolling down the corkscrew with Wozencroft, Huffman, Siraj Pradhan. Now, the last time we saw Pradhan, he had fallen back to 11th. He's made up 2 positions. He's gotten around both Bob Kutera and Charles Vaccaro in the last 3 laps. And again, Pradhan made up a number of positions. He's advanced 11 positions from his starting spot. He started in 20th. He's up to 9th right now, and as long as he can stay in the draft of Jamison Huffman, he's got the opportunity to make up a couple more positions.
Yeah, really good run for him. Back up to the lead is Tranter, Burke, Peak. Your top 3, they got about a 5-second gap between 3rd and 4th, and they're doing a really good job at pulling away and not trying to, pass each other every single lap, just to make a good gap.
Yeah, I think the big story here is, for the first couple of laps, Henry Morse, who qualified 4th, was able to stay in the draft and stay with that lead pack of 3. He is now almost 6 seconds in arrears, and he's running about a second, almost a second and a half off of our leaders right now, so he continues to drop back. So it is, at the moment, with just about 7 minutes remaining in this 20-minute timed race, a 3-car battle here for the lead with Jack Tranter, Zach Burke, Mitchell Peak, as they now come around, and they are going to be completing lap number 9.
Oh, look at that.
As we jump back just a little bit now, this is the battle for 5th, heating back up with Jordy Fike, Murphy Nichols, and Andrew Wozencroft now coming onto the front straight here, and we'll Let's see what Nichols can do. He's been in this position now for a couple of laps. He gets a good draft coming down the front straight through turn 1, but Fike very good in defense going down into the Andretti hairpin, and it looks like he's going to hold off Murphy Nichols one more time. I think Nichols, you know, the challenge for Nichols obviously is not just to get around Jordy Fike, but he's got Andrew Rosencroft sitting there very close behind, that while he's trying to get offensive, he has to play a little bit defensive as well, and that certainly affects his ability to get around Fike.
Yeah, Fike's been holding that 5th place position, but we're back to Bryce Evans, and there's Stevie Ray. His left front mirror got it. Let's just say it's hanging on by a wire.
All right, and right behind him, Richard Spicer in the Bud Light car,
And
under braking, side by side going into turn 5, and looks like he may get that pass done. There he goes. He comes across the nose of the 311 car, Bryce Evans, to take over lucky 13.
Yeah, good run by Stevie Ray after the wreck, able to get back to his starting position. So I mean, he always puts on a good charge though. But
yeah,
yeah.
I was just saying he's always very good in the last couple of laps. Usually we see Stevie Ray with a pretty good lunge to make up position. So we'll have to see. Again, he is sitting in 12th place, and we'll see if he can move up. Let's get back to that battle now for 5th with Murphy Nichols, Jordy Fike, and Andrew Rosencroft. And as you can see, Murphy Nichols did finally get around Jordy Fike to take over 5th. Let's see if we can see it in replay here as they come out of the corkscrew. Well, it looks like the pass had already been made at that point. But Nichols with a great run out of the corkscrew and gave himself a little bit of an opening there. All right, so let's jump back to the leaders coming out of turn 6, making their way up the long Rahal straight to the corkscrew. And Jack Tranter still with about 4 car lengths as Mitchell Peak runs a little bit wide coming out of 6, and you know, I guess Peak has the advantage with these MX-5s of being able to, you know, stay just on the edge of that draft. But you can see he's starting to toss that car around a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's able to stay a little bit into that toe. We're back to the battle for 5th. It's Fike and Murphy Nichols side by side through the corkscrew. Ooh.
Yeah, Fike.
Look how dirty that track is with all the gravel flying up.
Yeah, so Fike went to give Murphy Nichols some room heading into the corkscrew, and ended up really compromising his exit as he ran right over the apex curbing, and you know, looked as though he just kind of cranked the wheel over to stay almost to the very edge driver's left, and gave Murphy Nichols almost 3/4 of the track. And you know, Nichols took advantage of it, and you can see now as they come across the start-finish line, he's opened up about a 9-car length lead. Well, maybe not 9, maybe 5.
Yeah, but that lead isn't safe right now with the way Fike's been running. As long as Huffman doesn't try to make a move on Jordy Fike, they could easily catch back up for making another 3-way battle for 5th. Yeah. So we're just gonna have to wait and see with just under 3 minutes to go.
All right, running up the hill again, Jack Tranter, and he's opening up a little bit more space to our second place runner, Zach Burke, and then Mitchell Peak close behind again. Peak starting to fall back, I think, a little bit off the pace of our leaders, but more importantly now, though, just over the last lap, Tranter has opened up now about a 9/10 of a second advantage. He's right on the edge of being able to break the draft to Zach Burke. We'll have to see as they come out of turn 11 if Tranter can get a good run. You know, this might, I don't want to say it'll spell doom, but might make it very difficult for Burke to get back, as we have now 3 wide going into the corkscrew, and that is Sean Hayes in the yellow number 94, Stevie Ray, and Richard Spicer, and Stevie Ray, great move on Hayes coming through the corkscrew, but Hayes hasn't given it up yet. But now he probably should, as they come down into the final corner into turn 11.
Yeah, Hayes is in a mirrorless sandwich. Both Ray and Spicer don't have a left front mirror, so I mean,
well, I guess that just means they
Hayes,
have to pass them on the left. That's all.
yeah. Well, maybe Spicer's got a little less, a little less drag, or just quicker without that mirror. But we'll see. But that mirrorless sandwich is looking good for Stevie Ray.
Now, if you saw that entry with that overhead shot, great overhead shot from Dennis Branch of Richard Spicer, taking the car almost completely off track under braking, going down into Andretti to try and carry a little bit more speed and maybe sneak underneath, turn in late and sneak underneath Hayes, but he just could not get it done. There, it looks he took that look again coming into turn 3. But right now, looking kind of racy now is Richard Spicer, and well, that's not just racy. That's seeing all the way into the belly of the beast there.
Yeah, just oh, this is most likely our last lap, but man,
that's
this
right.
Battle for 11th, the battle for 5th, the battle for the lead. Man, this is the great battle with.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to get one more lap here as our leader, Jack Tranter, followed by Zach Burke and Mitchell Peak. They did cross the stripe, as you can see, prior to that 20-minute time expiring. So this is your very last lap. That also means that battle that we were just watching a little bit before with Hayes, Spicer, and Stevie Ray, that's going to go on for another lap as well. Here is Jack Tranter. He drops a wheel coming out of turn 3. A lot of drivers do there. Not a big deal. But heading up the hill they're going to be coming up on that high-speed turn 6 here in just a moment as they continue to make their run up towards the corkscrew, the highest portion of this WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca course. You can see the two teammates there, Burke and Peak, nose to tail, and they did close down on Zach Tranter, though, as they go into the corkscrew. Let's see if Tranter can hold on, and he does there, and now it's just a question of positioning of that car and not giving these drivers an opportunity to make it around as they come out of the rainy curve through turn 10. And we're going to set up for the final corner here at WeatherTech Raceway. Under braking, Jack Tranter leads the trio out onto the front straight, and let's see if they're close enough to try a slingshot. I don't think they are, Avery. And taking the win, it's going to be Jack Tranter, driver of the number 08 machine. Zach Burke will finish second. Last up on the podium will be Mitchell Peak, and then Henry Morse comes home a distant 4th.
Yeah, great run by Jack Tranter, but here's the battle for 5th, and Murphy Nichols is going to win that battle for 5th, followed by Fike and Jamison Huffman. These three drivers, Greg, battled pretty much the whole 20 minutes, and I put on a good show. Another good show was put on by Vaccaro, Stevie Ray, and then we had Richard Spicer. Another great battle.
All right, there you
that
go.
no left mirror worked out good for him at the final straight.
It certainly did. Siraj Pradham brings the car home in 9th. You'd think he was the hard charger the evening, but he is not. He makes up 11 positions. Your hard charger this evening, and we were watching him a little bit earlier, racing with Stevie Ray and Richard Spicer. Sean Hayes making up 13 positions here this evening. He's going to bring that car home, perhaps lucky 13th there. So great job by him. So Avery, why don't we see if we can get some of our podium finishers here into the booth. And a matter of fact, we've got Mitchell Peak for you. Mitchell Peak, who finished 3rd tonight in Mazda MX-5. Avery, over to you.
Hey, Mitchell, congratulations on a great run, finishing on the podium spot here at Laguna Seca. It was pretty much a 3-car pull away between you, Zach, and Jack. And how was that race from your eyes?
That was a fun one to be part of for sure. I feel like out of the three of us, I was definitely the slower of the three. In practice, I couldn't find a good balance on the car, and I typically struggle at this track. So to come out with a podium, I'm pretty happy. My teammate there, Zach, I was just trying to follow him in second, and we were just kind of waiting to see if Jack would make a mistake and keep the pressure on and then try to make a move later in the race. But Jack ran a great run. He's super fast, so congrats to him. And yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, this series, the first time this season with the Mazda MX-5, and we had some carnage in the beginning, but once everybody got going, it was battles all the way around, and that's just a testament to how great this series is ran. Are we going to see you next week?
Yeah, I'll be out next week for sure. I love taking part in this. Thanks to Stevie for setting everything up. Definitely thanks to you guys at Apex for putting on such a good show every week. Also, I have a lot of fun with this one. So looking forward to the next race and hope to catch you guys in the booth again.
Awesome. Congrats again on a podium finish. Hope to talk to you again later.
Thanks.
All right, and that was Mitchell Peak, finished third tonight in MX5 Cup. Let's take a look here, and we've got our winner, Avery, and that's Jack Tranter.
Hey, Jack, you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, congrats on, let's just say, pretty much a picture-perfect race. But it wasn't easy. You had two hard chargers with Zach and Mitchell. How were you able to hold off the two Canadians?
Well, I mean, they ran a really consistent race, so and they ran smart the whole time. I actually found out a couple laps in that I didn't put enough fuel in the car, so that whole race that was actually fuel saving. I don't know if you could hear some weird coasting and like short shifting the whole time, but there was a lot more work going on than it looked like. So that made it even more difficult. But overall, it was a really fun race. I saw a lot of chaos happen behind me on the first lap. I'm glad those two didn't get caught up in that, and we were able to have a nice, clean race.
Yeah, it was definitely a real clean race, and just a simple mistake, those guys would have been right up to you, be able to try to make a pass. So you had to run perfect, and that's something Greg and I were talking to, and how smooth the top three was, and you guys pulled away really strong. But next week we're gonna see you guys the Mazda MX-5 at VIR. It's a total different track than Laguna Seca. How are we gonna attack that track for you?
Man, I'm happy that's happening because this week actually for the official series, an Advanced MX5 Cup is VIR. So I'm gonna get a good amount of practice all week on that track. But I'm gonna get my brain all mixed up when I'm racing this weekend at Pittsburgh at the Super Tour too. So I've got a lot of racing coming up, so hopefully that'll keep me fresh for next week.
Awesome, Jack. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank?
Um, I'm gonna shout out Justin Hilly because he was gonna come out tonight and he bailed. So I'm gonna make sure he can see this, and I'm gonna send him a link later so he knows that he missed out.
Awesome. Yeah. Make sure you can get in next week for sure. Well, Jack, good luck this weekend in Pittsburgh, and hopefully we'll see you again on Monday or Tuesday.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
All right. There you go. That was Jack Tranter, who I'm going to miss this weekend on the pit race leg of the Hoosier Super Tour, because unfortunately I'm going to be announcing a hill climb down in Kentucky this weekend. So good luck to Jack, and good luck to Justin Hilly as well if he goes out there to race as well. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a quick little break as we set up for our next race, our Spec Racer Ford race. Before we do, just wanted to mention, of course, this past race sponsored by Driver61. They offer a lot of driver coaching, circuit guides, practical training, and training videos as well for the up-and-coming virtual racer. You can find out more about their offerings at Driver61.com. And so let's go. We'll take a little bit of a break, pay some of our sponsors, and we'll be right back with the 20-minute battle of the checker in Spec Racer Ford.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
All right, and we are back here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for round 2, season 2 of the Ray Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsberg with Avery McDonald, and of course, as always, you've got Dennis Branch flipping the little switches and making the magic happen behind the scenes for Apex Racing TV. And we are now about 10 minutes in to the 15-minute qualifying session for our Spec Racer Fords. And first off, I think we should mention, Avery, that I win the bet, and that is because Whitney Strickland is indeed, well, you know what? He hasn't turned a lap yet, so maybe he's waiting till the very end. But I was going to say, Whitney Strickland, I think, is racing here. Another person to join us this evening, and I'm very happy to see this. Larry McLeod driving the number 133 machine out on track. One of my announcing partners, both in the virtual world and in real life. So good to see Larry come out. Apparently he doesn't have a late night meeting with some of his overseas teammates, so good to have him here. Real quick, as we've got qualifying underway, just wanted to recap for everybody what happened a week ago at Summit Point. First off, a lot of wrecking happened at Summit Point, but let me give you the finishing order. First with our Pro Mazda race. Again, our Pro Mazda's not running this evening. They will join us again next week at, and Avery let the cat out of the bag. We're going to be at Virginia International Raceway next Tuesday night. Taking the win in Pro Mazda, running from flag to flag, was Tyler Campbell with Morgan Burkhardt. And you can see Morgan right now in Spec Racer Fords currently sitting second, just 14 thousandths of a second off of our provisional pole sitter Richard Spicer. Morgan Burkhardt finished second in the Pro Formula Mazdas, then John Vogel, Stevie Ray, and Charles Vaccaro. And I jump right over to the Spec Racer Fords, but I have to mention that because of the way we give points out, we actually give bonus points for running a clean race, for not having any damage, for not running off track, for not running into other cars. Charles Vaccaro, who finished 5th last week in the Pro Mazdas, he actually now is sitting 3rd in the points, and he picked up enough bonus points that he leapfrogged both John Vogel and Steve Ray, who are actually tied for 4th right behind him. All right, so let's jump over to the Spec Racer Fords. And how did they do last week at Summit Point? Well, there was at least one driver who ran a clean race. Actually, there were 2 drivers that ran clean races, and they ended up at the top of the podium. Zach Burke, who we saw just a few moments ago on the podium in in the Mazda MX-5s. He took the win in Spec Racer Ford. Stevie Ray, hey, there he is, right on track. Stevie Ray in that number 11 car, not running his usual livery tonight, running the RaceVoice.com livery. Really slick-looking machine there. Take a look at that. Stevie Ray finished 2nd in Spec Racer Ford with Morgan Burkhardt. Had a great evening last week at Summit Point. Finished 2nd in the Pro Mazdas. Finished 3rd in the Spec Racer Fords. His teammate Murphy Nichols finished 4th, and then Mike Taylor finished in 5th. And let's see if there was that kind of jumping around and moving around in the points in Spec Racer Ford. No, there was not. It's Burke, Ray, Burkhardt, Nichols, and Taylor, your top 5 after 1 round in Spec Racer Ford. All right, so Avery, we've got just about a minute and a half left to go in qualifying, and still seeing a lot of drivers here trying to, even after, well, a lot of these drivers didn't get an hour and 15 minutes of practice because they were busy racing the MX-5s, but it looks like still a lot of drivers trying to come to grips with the lack of grip here out on track.
Oh yeah, these drivers are, just getting some laps in, trying to adjust from the MX-5 to the Spec Racer Ford. And there's Murphy Nichols up in 6th, just 2/10ths back from Steve Ray. And with about a minute to go in qualification, he'll blink out and take his last lap for qualifying.
Yeah, he should be starting making his last run now. Now, a little bit before that, we were taking a look at the 223 machine of Justin Huffman, who came out. He came out of turn 10. There's Justin in the 223 car. Justin is Jameson Huffman's father. You'll see right now they are qualified 7th and 8th. If qualifying were to end right now, they would make up the 4th row here in Spec Racer Ford. And I don't know if that's necessarily where Justin wants to be, because at the very beginning of the Pro Mazda race last week at Summit Point, young Jameson crashed his father out on the very first lap. So maybe we need to separate those two before this race starts. But right now, with just about 3 seconds left to go here in qualifying, they're qualified right next to one another as we follow here. We're looking at Elias Roman in that's in the number 3 car. Actually, we're following the Larry McLeod right now, and McLeod jumps to the top of the timing pylon here as he comes around to take his last lap. Now, Larry races very regularly in another league that can be seen here every Sunday on Apex Racing TV called the Weekend Warriors, and that league is exclusively Spec Racer Fords. And unless we have Stevie Ray go and change things up, it looks like Larry McLeod will start on pole. Let's take a look here, and Stevie Ray comes down into the pits, calling off his last flying lap. And so that's how things are going to end up, I think. There's still a chance here with Zach Burke and Richard Spicer. Spicer making his way around on his very last flying lap here in that blue number 7 car. The 45 pulls off to the side to let him by. That was the gentlemanly thing to do. And And so Richard Spicer, and no, Spicer, he pops the curb coming through turn 10, and that is going to end his chances for a pole here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. You can see there, Brendan Horan had pulled off to the side to let Spicer go by, and unfortunately Spicer couldn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, Larry put on a good run last season at Coda, so we'll see if he's going to be able to get another good run here at WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca.
That's right, the race that nobody saw finish. Circuit of the Americas. Larry McLeod taking a win on the very last lap as I think Comcast and their entire cable modem network went down, at least on the East Coast, and I think everybody but the announcers saw that missed the end of that race. All right, so we have our drivers. They're in the pits. They're going to be gritting up here in just a moment. And it's going to be a 20-minute run to the checkered flag for our Spec Racer Fords. This race is brought to you by RaceVoice and Stevie Ray there of Ray eSports, sporting them on his number 11 machine. And RaceVoice, they give you a great system, provides audio input, lets you get driving cues based on data from your data acquisition system, both for the real race world and also the virtual race world. So definitely take a look at them, look them up at racevoice.com. All right, so let's run down the starting grid here in Spec Racer Ford. And as we mentioned, Larry McLeod in the number 133 machine. He is your pole sitter with Stevie Ray in that RaceVoice number 11 car. Only 11 thousandths of a second, or probably 11 hundredths of a second off of McLeod. Will start on the outside of the front row. Starting on row 2, we've got Zach Burke, who will start third, with Richard Spicer starting in fourth. Your third row, Morgan Burkhardt and Murphy Nichols, the two ASR teammates. Then we've got son and father, Jamison Huffman starting 7th, Jamison Huffman starting 8th, Elias Roman and Andrew Benna from the SCCA Foundation League. That will make up row number 5. Then we've got Greg Mack and Bryce Evans in the 311 car, who we saw just a few moments ago. Then starting 12th today, let me see, I believe that's starting 12th. Yes, it is, no, 13th, I'm sorry, Andrew Rosencroft with John Casey. Then Brennan Horan in the number 45 machine with Charles Vaccaro starting 16th, and Wayne Buttermore. And let's see if Whitney Strickland set a time. You know, I lost the bet. Whitney Strickland did not go out and set a qualifying time. So he may start 18th, but all signs point to not likely. All right, so the pace car has the field. Got Larry McLeod and Stevie Ray, our front row, following behind. The pace lap looks a little slower this time here, Avery.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, one thing I was going to say, Greg, the key to the last race with the MX-5 is the same key to this race. Got to keep the car clean, got to keep on the track, because with such a momentum-based car like this Spec Racer Ford, if you go off track and lose a little bit, that's a couple positions easily. Yeah,
so, and I would say probably the key, given what we saw in race 1, is you can't win the race in the very first corner, or you can't win the race before you even get to the first corner. As you jockey for position in this very wide track, and then you know, everybody tries to head drivers right to set up for the Andretti hairpin. But yeah, you gotta have a little patience if you're back in the pits when all the other drivers are completing lap 1. It doesn't do you any good. It looks like Buttermore might be having some internet connectivity issues there also, back in 17th position.
Yep, like in the immortal words of Dick Trickle, to finish first you must finish. So that could also be the signified key of the race, but you gotta be careful, you gotta keep the car clean, and you gotta make it through at least lap number 1.
All right, so the pace car now bringing the field down through turn 10, right past the scene of the crime where Richard Spicer had those issues on the last lap of qualifying. Pace car in the pits now as Larry McLeod and Stevie Ray come out of turn 11 onto the front straight, with our second row of Burke and Spicer close behind, and the green flag is in the air, and automatically now stepping out, you can see Murphy Nichols, Jamison Huffman that's Justin Huffman coming out drivers right to jockey as they come down under braking going into the hairpin. And now look at that with a late braking move from Stevie Ray, and that's gonna hurt him as he locked up the brakes. And we have a new second place runner, that's Zach Burke. So moves Stevie Ray now back into third with our leader, our pole sitter, Larry McLeod, at the point. Then we've got Murphy Nichols. He is running fourth with Morgan Burkhardt, Richard Spicer, Jamison Huffman. So what happened to Justin here? Justin Huffman dropped a couple positions back. He's back in ninth now. So, okay, let's take a look at this rundown into the hairpin again. And there we go, a little bit of lockup. And there is Justin Huffman. I think just kind of being safe, was caught all the way to the outside, though. And drops a wheel coming out of turn 2, coming out of the hairpin. And just kind of get shuffled back as they roll into turn 3, Avery.
Yeah, you know, he was probably a little nervous. There's a driver that is in relation to him that caused a wreck last week. So maybe he saw old Jameson and says, I'm just going to back up and let the young buck go.
There you go. And so Jameson now is up to 7th. Father Justin back in 10th as we have, and there's Justin, and he's got Andrew Benno. That car is going to get a lot. You know, I think that livery may have just scared Justin Huffman off the track coming through turn 10. That's Andrew Benno in the number 71 machine with the Spec Racer Greg. No escaping that thing. All right, back to the lead here, coming down into the Andretti hairpin. Sticking all the way to the inside, protecting that inside line is Larry McLeod with Zach Burke running second. Burke opened up the corner to try and get a run out of there. Didn't do him any good, but you can see already Larry McLeod starting to get very defensive here. I think he might sense the inevitable with Zach Burke right behind him. Stevie Ray back in third with Murphy Nichols and Morgan Burkhardt falling just a little bit off our lead too, but Avery, take a look here as Zach Burke all over the back of Larry McLeod. Although the eyes in the back of Larry McLeod's head, I think probably has a good understanding of exactly what Zach Burke's intentions are.
Yeah, you know, you got Zach Burke behind you who's quick, but I mean, if I was Zach, I'd be kind of scared staring into those two eyes of Larry McLeod's car, because I mean, one, that's the color of my eyes, and two, that's so creepy. Like, you're just driving, it's like I'm expecting to see, two eyes, and then in the middle there's a nose, and that would just make it even more creepy. So Larry, I know you probably watch this later, that might be a good idea. Put a little nose in there.
All right, and getting let's see here, it's like did Jamison Huffman go off? Yes, he did. Jamison Huffman rolls off track. Let's take a look here as they come down the hill. Coming out of turn 9, going into turn 10, drops a wheel, comes onto the apron there, and has to fight his way back through the gravel trap to get back underway. But Jamison Huffman going to lose a number of positions, drop him now back to 11th as we jump back up to our lead pack of 3. And it's Zach Burke and Stevie Ray challenging our leader, Larry McLeod, as we make our way through lap number 3.
Yeah, 3 laps, almost 3 laps down, and it's pretty much McLeod, Burke, and Ray, and then about a second, almost 2-second gap between Spicer and Ray.
Well, it's getting better, but bigger as Richard Spicer just dropped wheels coming through turn 4, so he loses more time, and you can see the damage to Morgan Burkhardt's number 40 machine. Right back behind Spicer. I think he picked that up on the very last lap. You see here is Burkhardt running a little wide coming out of turn 6 and making the run up towards the corkscrew. But now look at this side-by-side, hard under braking going in the corkscrew, and Zach Burke takes over the lead from Larry McLeod on lap number 3. I mean, we saw that Burke was looking very racy pretty much from the get-go, and McLeod had already had to start driving a very defensive race, and he has now moved back into second as Stevie Ray in that RaceVoice livery number 11 machine now, staring into the beady blue eyes of Larry McLeod.
Yeah, I'm scared. I might have nightmares, Greg.
I'm just mesmerized.
I mean,
Larry has
he is
never
bright.
looked at
He
me
is
in real
looking
life like
forward
this.
and backward at the same time.
You always want to have eyes in the back of your head, have your head on a swivel when you're racing there. But yeah, Larry's never looked at me like that in real life before. But all right, so we've got our leaders now. And trying to get my ugly mug a little bit more airtime there. Andrew Benna goes off, going into the Andretti hairpin. Let's see exactly what happens here. Under braking, you can see he got a little loose under the apron there as he comes up on Greg Mack, just locks up the rear wheels. I think as Greg Mack came across his nose and the rear end steps out on Andrew Benna, he then goes and continues, but loses a number of positions. He's back down to 10th now, which is exactly where he started this race.
Yeah, back to the spot you're at, but take a look at the Huffmans. They're really close to each other.
Yeah, they are. And Jameson sitting in the tail here. And there we go. Jameson giving his father wide berth this time, coming up to the corkscrew. Not looking for a repeat of Summit Point. Jameson Huffman gets the pass made on Daddy Justin. And you can see here has already opened up about 5 car lengths as we jump back to the battle for the lead with Zach Burke, our pole sitter, Larry McLeod, and Stevie Ray. And Richard Spicer starting to close things down just a little bit. Spicer about 1.1 seconds back. He's probably just a little bit out of the draft. And you can see there where he dropped back pretty far on the back straight, but he might be able to make some of that up under braking as we have a little brake smoke from Larry McLeod coming through Andretti. That was a great view. Instead of having to look at Larry's eyes in the back of the car, much easier to look out the back of Zach Burke's machine right at McLeod. Oh yeah, thanks Dennis, appreciate that, man. All right, as we're now on board with Stevie Ray.
Yeah, speaking of, look at that gap. It shrunk a little bit to a 2.5 gap with Richard Spicer as he's trying to run down Ray. So, those, top 3 is starting to, battle side by side in these corners. It's going to be a 4-way battle for the lead.
Yeah, he might be able to get up there. He's, again, just a little bit out of the draft, which definitely makes things difficult here, at least on the run out of turn 11 on the front straight. And does McLeod try a move to come underneath Zach Burke going into the corkscrew? No, he doesn't, but we see some brake lockup there from our leader. And Stevie Ray just kind of sitting back and waiting. I think he's definitely trying to measure up Larry McLeod. Now, those two have raced quite a bit together in the Weekend Warriors League. And so I think Stevie Ray knows the ins and outs of Mr. McLeod's racing. But we'll see what happens here as Morgan Burkhardt gets around Greg Mack in that really looks like a very seriously damaged car. Then we've got Burkhardt's teammate right behind. That is Jameson Huffman. And the two of them trying to put the screws to Greg Mack in the number 2.
Yeah, Greg Mack up in that 7th spot. Really good run for Greg. He had a little issue in the Mazda race, but really put on a good show up in 7th. And now battling with 8th. Let's Huffman go. So really good run for him so far.
Yeah, and you can see Burkhardt, who again finished on the podium last week in Spec Racer Ford, finished 3rd at Summit Point. Definitely having some issues with that car, a little bit more brake lockup than we've seen from him previously, either in qualifying or on the first laps of the race, and the car looking a little twitchy at the rear as well. So we'll see how he manages over the rest of this race, as we're now just about halfway in this 20-minute long sprint to the checker.
Yeah, almost halfway through, like you said, Greg, and it's been Burke, McLeod, and Ray up in the top 3, and I mean it's still anyone's game. You get one slip up by Zach Burke, and McLeod and Stevie Ray could make a nice move on him. Just really good corner entries for Zach, and just maintain a good pace.
And I notice here, and you can see this under braking, Larry McLeod making up a lot of ground on Zach Burke going into turn 11. Very hard-braking 90-degree left-hand corner that takes you onto the front straight here at WeatherTech Raceway. The problem is, though, is that this Larry is having to check up, I think, quite a bit more. He's not getting the exit out of that corner that Zach Burke is. So you always get that slow in, fast out, but it looks like Zach is doing the not as slow in and fast out, which is definitely an advantage. As we jump over now to the battle for in 11th between Bryce Evans and Andrew Wozencroft. Now, Evans had a small off a couple of laps ago and got back on track, and you can see here he's right with Wozencroft right behind him. And a little bit of damage to that 311 car. And last time by, Wozencroft was 1.2 seconds faster than Bryce Evans, so might just be a matter of time before we see a change there in 11th.
And take a look at back up to that lead, and McLeod is holding off the hard charge of Stevie Ray, and man, look at Stevie Ray putting on that RaceVoice Spec Racer Ford up in the podium. He just kind of buying his time to try to make a nice overtake. Needs to get a good exit out of the corners, because good exit out of that corner is going to help you make the overtake. But really good run for McLeod and Stevie Ray as they're starting to fall back a little bit from Zach Burke, and who is leading. So
yeah, now remember a week ago at Summit Point, Zach Burke was our winner, so he's looking for 2 in a row here. Stevie Ray finished second with Morgan Burkhardt, not a distant third, but finished on the last step of the podium. And I think the big wild card here tonight is Larry McLeod. And McLeod still definitely within the draft. He's only about 4/10 off the back of our leader, Zach Burke, right now. And Burke hasn't been able to shake him, but pretty clear that Burke has had slightly better pace. Although I'll tell you, fast lap of the race right now goes to Larry McLeod, and margin in fast laps between those two drivers, 0.13 of a second. All right, so not much, as they get a small drag of the brakes, go into that little dip right at the apex of turn 6, and start the run up the hill, up the Ray Hall straight towards the iconic corkscrew here at turn 8A, as they drop in and drop right back down, get off the throttle here as they round the rainy curve, then get right back on it, try not to slide the car off too wide, driver's right, and set up for turn number 10. And there you go, Stevie Ray's hanging back a couple car lengths, so, but this is the move. We saw this last lap where Stevie Ray would come just a little bit down the inside and force McLeod to defend just a little bit going into turn 11, which had opened things up for Zach Burke that last time by. Ray wasn't quite close enough, but look at this. Ray just shoves the car down to the apex here, late on the brakes, gets some brake lockup, but McLeod just was not ready for that very, very late dive bomb from Stevie Ray. We have a new second place runner here in Spec Racer Ford, and that is Stevie Ray, and it's also allowed our leader to move away just a little bit. Let's take a look at the replay here as they come down the hill, heading down towards the Andretti hairpin, under braking, and Stevie Ray, there you go, last second lockup. I said it was a last second move, but he showed his intentions pretty early there, Avery. He stuck to the inside almost all the way down the hill.
Oh yeah, and Larry kind of left the door open. Oh, Larry McLeod goes around and gets back in the fourth, but oh, you hate to see it.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replay here. He's right on the back of Stevie Ray as they come down in under braking to turn 5. Is there contact? I don't think there was. I think McLeod got into the brakes just before they touched, but sent the car around. And our new third place runner now, Richard Spicer, in that number 7 machine.
Yeah, what a good run by McLeod there, but just made a little mistake and looped it, but still at 4th place, kind of settled into the 4th spot. And there's Justin Huffman goes around. Oh, hate to see it.
Yeah, that was a pretty good move by him. Spun the car around, started
Yeah.
driving back up the hill, up the corkscrew as he comes around. But now big changes here. And you can see the lead that Zach Burke now has opened up over Stevie Ray. But Richard Spicer now, he's in that draft range. He's only about 0.7 of a second back from Stevie Ray. And he should be able to get pulled along. Now, we only have 4.5 minutes left to go in this race. If it were longer, you know, I would recommend, obviously, that Spicer and Ray work together to try and draft back up to our leader, Zach Burke, but there just may not be time for that, Avery.
Yeah, and Spicer ran the quickest lap of the session that last time around. So, I mean, you got a head full of steam like that, you know, you might want to try to make the pass if you think you're a little bit quicker. Ray cornered by Spicer. Will he try to make a move?
Let's see if he can. And he moves to the outside. Goes driver's right on Stevie Ray. They're side by side going into the corkscrew. Ray has the position, and I think wisely Spicer checked up just a little bit. He's going to try and make a run down the hill here, but I mean, you can see that's the effect of the draft as they come out of turn 6, which is a very high-speed corner, even though you're going up that really big rise. And Spicer just had a ton of momentum coming up towards the corkscrew as they now make their way onto the front straight here. Just about a little bit over 3 minutes left to go, and with these drivers running about minute 40, likely 2 laps remaining here in this race.
Yeah, Spicer put on a good run. Oh, locks the tires a little bit up. Speaking of new quick time, Larry McLeod, no toe.
A 1:39.384, fastest lap of the race. Now, don't tell Larry that you don't gain points for fast lap. This isn't like Formula One, but he is sitting just off the podium in 4th position, unfortunately, as he's just about 6.8 seconds back from Richard Spicer. I think it's going to be a little difficult for him to make his way back up and battle for the podium here as we look at the battle for 7th with Greg Mack and Morgan Burkhardt. I think the last time we checked in on these two drivers, Burkhardt was in 7th and Mack was in 8th, but they are once again nose to tail, and we'll see if the not so pristine body of Morgan Burkhardt can find its way around the much cleaner looking number 2 machine with Greg Mack. Yeah. Oh, hey, there's a spec racer Greg on the nose of that car too. I'm everywhere.
You are everywhere, Greg. Oh,
Oh,
Greg Mack locks the tires up, and it's so close to contact there with Burkhardt.
yeah, he locked him up, came through the dirt, came right back onto the track, right at the apex, and Burkhardt had to take evasive action, had to really check up there, and it really impacted his exit speed coming down the hill. But look at this, he's coming up right now on his teammate Jamison Huffman in the number 89 car as they come onto the front straight. And again, our leaders did cross the stripe with about 1:15 remaining, and so I believe, and maybe if we get a look back at our starter, no, I can't see it here, I believe we are on the last lap. As our leader Zach Burke now opens up a 5-car length lead over Stevie Ray in the number 11. And at this point, all Zach Burke has to do is hit his marks and be careful, and he should be able to bring it home here as we look at the battle right behind him. The battle for 2nd between Stevie Ray and Richard Spicer, and Spicer has been able to close things down just a little bit. We'll see if he makes a late lunge here under braking going into the corkscrew. Big lockup from Stevie Ray. Spicer not able to do anything with it, however. He's still about 4 car lengths back as they roll down the hill out a rainy curve. And running wide, Richard Spicer, he manages to hold on to it though, but loses a little bit more ground to Stevie Ray as our current leader, Zach Burke, comes into the final corner onto the front straight for the very last time. The clock crosses 20 minutes, And taking the win tonight here in Spec Racer Ford at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, Zach Burke. Stevie Ray will bring his car home in second. Richard Spicer will finish in third as we wait for our final. There he goes, crossing the line. Our pole sitter tonight, Larry McLeod, finishes in fourth with Elias Roman crossing the line in fifth.
Yeah, what a picture-perfect race for Zach Burke. And man, Stevie Ray put on a good show. And then how about these young guns, Jameson Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt? You know, race maybe not went the way they wanted to, but they kept with it and they stuck it out and able to finish in the top 7. But Greg Mack, great run for him. But overall, Greg, the Spec Racer Ford group they're a blast to watch.
Yeah, put on a great race this evening. And you know, you saw it right off the bat that Zach Burke was looking very racy. He was looking for a way to get around Larry McLeod almost from the drop of the green flag. And McLeod, you knew the fix was in. McLeod, he just wasn't going to be able to run a defensive race for 20 minutes and hold off the number 13 of Burke. And once Burke got around, it was it looked like, let's not say it was an easy run, because you know there's always a little bit more to the story. Just like we heard Jack Tranter tell us at the end during the interview at the end of the Mazda MX-5 race, how he was fuel saving for and then short shifting the entire race just to ensure that he could get the car to the checkered flag. You never really know, but there is our winner, the number 13 Zach Burke. And let's see if we get donuts or he just drives into the wall. He just drives into the wall. All right, let's see if we have some of our folks here ready for their interviews, and indeed we do. Avery, we've got our second place finisher tonight in the Race Voice number 11 machine, Stevie Ray.
Hey Stevie, congrats on another great race here with the Spec Racer Ford. It was pretty much a great battle between you, Larry McLeod, and Richard Spicer, and then obviously our winner Zach Burke. But man, how were you able to make that move to get up into second?
Well, I had seen that I'd been carrying a little more speed up into the Andretti hairpin, and I was just trying to wait for the right time. And Larry went a little wide there and just gave me the opening, so I had to take it. But and then, yeah, it was a good battle. Zach was starting to get away a little bit, and Larry came back, and I guess he spun. I hope that I didn't hit him. I didn't get a 0X or anything, so I hope that was clean.
Yeah, it was just definitely a great run between, definitely with the top 3 and the top 4. But, one thing I noticed with you, Stevie, when you get in the Spec Racer Ford, you can just tell that this is your car. This is something that you always run well with. And, you got the Weekend Warrior Series. It's also on Apex Racing TV. And we know you love this car so much. And, with an off week coming up, if I'm not mistaken, we have an off week at a VAR with just a Mazda and the MX-5. So you're going to have to wait a week till we go to Road Atlanta. But tell us a little bit about Road Atlanta with that Spec Racer Ford.
Oh yeah, that's a great track for this car. A lot of fun. They had the runoffs there for so many years. There's a lot of history, so I really like that track. And I'll get in and be mid-pack and have some fun next week in the MX-5 and the Pro Mazda, and that's what this one's all about. It's just a bunch of good guys and a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet you got a smile on your face when you're driving with this great group of people, Steve. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank?
Oh yeah, you got to thank Race Voice for taking care of us and sponsoring this and the Pro Mazda, so we can share all this with our family and friends. It's awesome of them to do that. They, as you know, they take care of the Weekend Warrior sponsorship as well, so it's great to have them on board.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, we'll see you next week, man. Congrats on the podium.
Guys, thanks. Take care.
All right, there is Stevie Ray, finished second tonight in Spec Racer Ford on the Ray eSports Racing League. So let's bring in now Richard Spicer, finished on the last step of the podium here in Spec Racer Ford. Avery, here's Richard.
Hey, Richard, congratulations on a podium finish. You're showing a lot of speed, ran some of the quickest laps of the session towards the end of the race. Man, you just maybe didn't quite have enough speed to get around Stevie, but man, you showed a lot of speed. How was that race for you?
Uh, yeah, just I think I was fast in weird parts of the track, to be honest with you. I that's a when I caught Stevie, I was like, let me just get a run on him because I was fast up into the the corkscrew, and then just didn't have anything else. I think anywhere else on the track to do much with those guys. You know, slightly poor qualifying, worst start, so put me far back. But it was a great race. It was fun. So congrats to Stevie and Zach.
Yeah, you definitely. We had you on the camera there coming through six, and I told Greg, I said, "Watch out! He had a really good corner there, and you went for the pass, and it wasn't just quite enough to get around him, but you really put on a really good effort. Once again, congrats on that podium. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank?"
I just thank you guys for putting on a great show and having us every week. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
We appreciate that too, but without having a great series, it could make the show so much better. So you guys do such a great job at making Dennis and Greg's job and myself so much easier. So once again, congrats on a great run. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, there you go. That is Richard Spicer, finished third tonight in Spec Racer Ford. And now let's bring in our winner for the second week in a row, taking a pretty commanding lead in Spec Racer Ford. It's Zach Burke.
Hey guys, how we doing?
All right, well, I'll pick it up.
You can take it, Greg.
Yeah, there we go. How you doing, Zach? Very, very well, and congratulations on your win this evening.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, looked tough. Almost right from the get-go. It looked like you forced Larry McLeod into driving a very defensive first couple of laps here. What was your strategy going into the race? Did you plan to take advantage, and really force the issue early on, or did you think it might play out a little differently?
I didn't have much of a strategy at all. My only strategy was trying to hang on till the end, so I didn't get much practice in. Qualifying was all the practice I had, so I was just trying to stay behind some of those guys up front and learn some stuff, what I can do, where I can make up speed on them. So
Yeah, and after 3 laps, you couldn't do that anymore because you found yourself in the lead. All right, so oh, yeah, I apologize here. So, once you did find yourself in the lead, what was there anything special that you thought you had to do, or any kind of tactics that you needed to employ in order to keep Larry McLeod, he fell off a little bit after getting. Having Stevie Ray come down on him into the Andretti hairpin. So you really had to deal with Stevie Ray and then Richard Spicer at the end there. Anything special, any tools in the toolbox you had to pull out to keep those guys behind you?
no, I think them battling was all the blessing I needed. So I was just kind of do my thing. I was expected to get passed back by one of them before the end of the race, but they started battling, and kind of that was my blessing to drive off into the sunset.
Yeah, I was going to say after a while, it did look like it's interesting. We were talking to Jack Tranter at the end of the Mazda MX-5 race, and he was telling us how he spent the majority of that race in fuel saving mode because he had underfilled the car. And some of the things that we don't hear here in the announce booth, like the short shifting or what have you, that there always seems to be like that little extra story behind the story sometimes. So good to hear though that it pretty much went maybe not according to plan for you, but that the other drivers kind of made it a little bit easier for you to sit back behind the wheel there and bring that number 13 car back to victory. All right, anybody you'd like to thank this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to thank the eSports Racer team, GB Consulting, and Brennan Horn Photography. Those guys are always there each week helping me out. So,
all right, excellent. And are we going to see you next week when we go to VIR?
yep, I'll be in the Miata again. So.
Very, very cool. All right, so everybody, that is Zach Burke, driver of the number 13 machine, takes the win tonight in Spec Racer Ford, is our first 2-time winner here in Season 2 of the Ray Esports League. Thanks so much for joining us, Zach. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. You have a great night.
All right, same to you. All right, so Avery, let's start wrapping things up here. Of course, want to thank both of our great sponsors, both RaceVoice and Driver61. You can find out more about RaceVoice's systems for both the real and virtual world at racevoice.com, and Driver61 for their driver coaching, different track guides, you name it, they are there for the virtual racer. You can find out more information about their services at driver61.com. And as we mentioned, we are going to be at the lovely Virginia International Raceway next weekend, kind of apropos, or next week, kind of apropos, because that's where I will be next week as well for the Sark Mars championship, or not championship, but the Sark Mars Challenge, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think all of our drivers, whether it be real or virtual, just absolutely love Virginia International Raceway. Avery.
Oh yeah, it's a tough track. It's a very iconic track. It's let's just say this: some of the best sim races I've ever seen were at VIR. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and we'll be back the same time, same place, Greg, for another amazing battle.
You got it exactly. You join us here next week, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. on the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel. As Avery said, give us a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Lots of great racing series. Heck, we were talking about one of them with these two drivers each week in the Weekend Warrior series, but different racing series from all around the world that you can see on Apex Racing TV. So definitely check it out. We'll be back next week. I'm Greg Ginsburg for Avery McDonald and Dennis Branch. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next Tuesday.